Hi, welcome to ESTA Live. We have a great show here today with James Hess, Sales Manager for Virtual and Hybrid Events at Encore and Advisory Board Member of ESTA. And we also have Sharon Gill, our Chief Strategist, joining today. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're
Great to be
welcome.
here.
So for all of you, while you're getting settled in, if you'd like to just go ahead and jump into the chat and put where you're from, we'd love to hear.
So how you all doing today? You guys right here.
Oh, us. Doing great. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate it. How about you?
Still on my coffee, you know? It's just,
Yeah.
I got to keep waking up. I need coffee today for some reason.
Well, you're really bringing the color today and vibrancy as always.
You know, I thought to myself, this is red. It's like a Christmas color, right? But I'm like, you know what? For camera, it's going to be bright. So
This is nice. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And James, you're dressing for the occasion.
That's right. I put on my nicest shirt. This has got toucans on it, so I didn't go too professional. Didn't want to mess anything up. But I threw the sport jacket over it. I feel like that really classes it up. So that's what I was going for here. And Meg, you look lovely as always, and you've got your Chicago map in the background there that we all love to see.
I do. I know. It's so nice. Mm-hmm. So many people ask me where I'm from. I'm like,
it's right behind me.
Right there.
But it's cool. It's fun. There we have Nate. I just got off a call with Nate. You know what I thought we would start with? Like, I know we're just getting settled in, but James, there's been such a change over the years with Encore and PSAV, and I've worked with them, for quite a long time. And I know that you've recently enhanced the entire brand.
Sure.
So what I like about your brand that we were talking about in the green room is your purpose. Mm-hmm. And it's so simple. Do you want to just share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, Meg, this company has been around for a very long time and has grown from its infancy into what we are today. But our mission has always been to connect and inspire people. And we are able to do that because of the technology and the experiences that we've grown into and the companies that we've acquired and become this one Encore today. So while even when I joined in 2017, we were a very different company. Today, we have this capability of bringing together people from virtual audiences like we have here watching this LinkedIn Live to the in-person experiences and then combining them into a hybrid experience that has changed the industry tremendously. Obviously, with live events specifically over the last couple of years, it has been pretty up and down. And Encore has been through the ringer for sure. Going from one of the biggest companies in the world that does what we do, to today being once again growing into that same biggest company in the world that does what we do.
Awesome. Oh, it's good to see JD on the call today. Hey, right. JD, our fearless leader and president. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I'm very glad John showed up because I was going to talk about some information I got from the DLC Drop podcast that he hosts regarding jobs in esports. So very serendipitous.
That's good. That's good.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into why we're here. Talk to us, James.
Yeah, thank you for having this LinkedIn Live. We were really excited as a company, Encore, because we had been thinking that the ESTA would only be a place where we could get business, where we could go and meet great people who were hosting these amazing tournaments who needed help with the AV technology. And what I found as I grew into ESTA, that it is so much more, that the companies who join as enterprise members, which is what Encore ended up doing, actually get more in return than they are able to give from a sales perspective. So in this specific instance, the most important thing to Encore right now is people. And I think that many companies in the world are thinking that exact same thing. Mm-hmm. So we realized, or I realized that the most value that ESTA could provide to Encore was its people, were the members. And as we have developed this program, we now are going to start introducing a membership level that will be specifically for people who are interested in what we came up with. And that's the job seeker and recruiting membership that we developed as our enterprise bonus, if you will. So as a company, Encore is an enterprise member of ESTA, which provides us not only access to the back end and everything that research and the connections that people get. But we also ask for the ability to post jobs and meet the other members directly where they are. And we have over 1,100 job openings right now. We have had tremendous success with ESTA members applying. So every single person who's applied has gone straight to a phone interview with one of our recruiters instead of going through the normal process that requires an application along with video interviews before you even get to those rounds. Of those, we've made 2 offers. One is in process of starting right now. And then we had one person who wasn't a fit. The role that we had for them wasn't a fit, and we were able to determine that on the call. So instead of moving forward, it was they weren't waiting to hear back from us. They knew specifically what we wanted, and it wasn't a fit. And then the 4th person is actually working for a competitor of ours, we are extremely excited for the opportunity to talk to somebody like that, specifically in a market we want and in this esports world that we feel is right on the cusp. To me personally, esports feels like being in the WWF in the 1980s. It was this spectacle. It was something that most people didn't understand. I certainly, as a 9-year-old in 1989 watching SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble, didn't realize what I was going to be part of in the future. But I knew it, even though my parents didn't get it. So I feel like a lot of that is in the esports now. Now I'm a parent. Now I'm in my 40s and I'm the parent, but I get it. And I do feel like that my kids who are playing these games that translate into esports and not just as the pro players. And we'll get into that a little bit, the other opportunities there are to work in esports, but it feels like we're right on that cusp. And I want to ride that wave, both from an encore perspective where we can get great people who are in the esports industry. And then as just a person who wants to be part of the next big thing.
One thing I like about ESTA is that we believe in win-win solutions, right? So, as you know, this is a member value, by the way, and this is a member benefit. Our job board is a member benefit. So, our job board is accessible to those who are members. And you mentioned, James, that you're a parent, and this is still the WWF or whatever you call it, right? For me, as a mom and a grandmother of gamers, right, I'm very interested in this topic because when my kids were gaming, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I couldn't see any future for them that, anything of value or any good that could come out of it. I just didn't see it. So I was an anti-gamer. Now,
Right.
Of course, I'm, in at ESTA, just to show you how much the evolution of this industry. So I'm very interested in finding out, about these opportunities for, in esports, because I want to be able to be relevant to my granddaughter.
Right.
To say, okay, even though you're gaming, right now, this could actually develop into some future career of some sort. So I can't wait to hear some of the jobs that are in esports, and maybe how I could even help to position even my granddaughter, who's very creative, to look for those opportunities in the future.
Boy, you have given me so much material to work with here, Sharon. I really appreciate that. So I've got lots of things out of that I would love to talk about specifically, but a few of the quick things were, one, just like you, and just like almost every person mature in their career. Let me back up for a second. At Esports Next 2021 event in Chicago, there's another one coming up this year in August, Esports Next 2022 in Chicago. But one of the things that I heard that I was not expecting was every single person who got up there who was paying to be at this event, who was sponsoring the event, who had literally taken a limited budget and spent that money just to interact with these people coming in. And the first thing they would say was, wow, I thought you were all sweaty nerds in your parents' basement. like that mindset shift was exactly the same one that I had, growing up. And certainly that a parent and a grandparent today, there's no shame in thinking that about the esports industry. But I had Rebecca DeFreitas, who works for Encore as part of our Hard Grow from Encore team. She did a master's degree thesis on the esports industry, and she came up with a list of these jobs. And I'm going to go through some of these, and you'll recognize some of them because they're what everyone thinks of when they do an esports or when they think about esports. But what is important to us is actually going to be these other jobs. So we've got athletes and agents and coaches, social media influencers, schedules, group tours, travel agents, and the people who help the teams, right? Everybody knows about those roles, but they're limited. There's a certain number of teams. There's a certain number of people who can be on that. But what we have is everything else. So we've got the venues. We've got amazing partnerships with companies who are part of ESTA who are creating these types of venues or being the companies that integrate these venues. So not only do you have an amazing stadium that is esports specific, but you have all the gear that goes into it. We're talking everything from the internet to the AV to the ice machines. All of that stuff is involved in esports, and the types of companies that understand where to go in esports. What is unique about esports will be the type of companies who continuously get hired to build those venues. We're talking about marketing. So in general, we talk about connections between the teams and the players, but there is somebody who sits in that space. There is a person who is going to be required to do the channel strategies for amateur, collegiate, professional, PC, mobile, or parents of gamers. In EST alone, we have entire companies that have sprung up just to help educate parents on what their kids are doing, and then using those same things that the kids are doing to then create new opportunities to learn other things. And that's very vague. Specifically something like Techie Factory. So Techie Factory is an amazing company where parents can send their kids for after school learning that is involved in developing, you mentioned creativity, developing things for like the Roblox store, learning to code, creating games and experiences. And then they can teach them to how to navigate that store so that they can sell those items. So now we've got somebody who's working in an esport who doesn't even know how to play the game. Right? They just want to have a great experience for the person who's doing it, and they can create something visually. So in addition to that, we're talking industry relations. Louis Vuitton created a traveling case for, I believe it was a Call of Duty League trophy. So there was an in-game item that was also a physical item. So now you're talking, you can work at any company in the world and work in esports. We've got the publishers, obviously. We've got emerging technologies. There are companies who have been to ESTA and the EST Esports Next event who are developing blockchain-based gaming, or are developing things that you can build NFTs off of specific games, things that I frankly don't understand. But by being part of ESTA, I can learn and get that information. And that's a huge benefit, not just learning about these jobs. We talked a little about where the jobs live. So as a recruiting member, Encore posts jobs to the internal ESTA job board. Some of those on there, like our entry-level AV techs, where people learn the ins and outs of the cabling and the setting up of the projectors and what it means to put that stuff on a screen. And then we have like manager and training positions, where it's a 5-month post-college program where you can actually experience all the roles that we have here in Encore, and then join as a manager and skip kind of the entry-level part that I went through when I joined the company. So there are tons of opportunities outside of just being the person playing the game. And Encore, as one of the partners of ESTA, as a recruiting enterprise member of ESTA, is bringing those people into these jobs, learning this so that, yes, you are going to work on a sales meeting for 10 people today, but you're going to learn the skills that will allow you to do. We've done Evo since 2010. We do QuakeCon. We do BlizzCon. We're in-house at the San Diego Convention Center. So we are San Diego Comic-Con. Like, those are all properties that we are already on site. And then you have the ability to go out and bring other groups internationally. We have Canada offices in EMEA, which is Europe. We have ANZAC, which is the New Zealand, Australia area. And we also have the Middle East. So if there are any tournaments or any things like that you're interested, there's a great chance that Encore is already working on them. And certainly if you come to join us, you can have that opportunity too.
I don't know if Meg wants to get in there for a minute, but Meg, do you want to get in there for me? Because I mean, James was rather love so many jobs that it seems like there are more jobs than people. I mean, how are you all finding people? I mean, like I said, with ESTA, it's a member benefit. So if there's any ESTA members out there, I mean, with a job board, you could start tapping into that. And if you're not a member, of course, we're going to have a link up in our comments soon on how you can become a member, because as you can hear with James, there are all these opportunities, and we're trying to bring that value to our membership. So beyond that, James, how are people hearing about these jobs? I mean, what's Encore doing to reach these people in terms of, recruiting and all these efforts? What are you all doing?
Well, through the ESTA, obviously, we have the job board that we have set up. We're also going to be doing things like this, where we will participate in the LinkedIn Lives and make sure that we mention that as a recruiting member, which we will post a link to join ESTA as a job-seeking member, that you can participate in these things. But we're also going to do things like virtual job fairs. So this was something that we have already done once in Chicago for a live job fair. But what we're going to do is a virtual job fair, where if you're interested and you are a job-seeking member, you can actually just come and meet one of the recruiting team members for Encore and talk to them about the roles that we have. There are other amazing companies that are a part of ESTA who haven't necessarily said, I'm here to find job seekers. But those are the types of companies that just joining ESTA, you get a list of all the members who are part of the company. And the best part about any association, really, but a trade association like this, is that the only real goal is here to create connections between the people who do what we love to do and the people who are going to fund and make sure that those people can continue to do those things. So while we definitely have things that are geared specifically towards getting you a job in esports or in the industry around esports, what we can tell you is that joining ESTA is the first step in learning about all these opportunities that are part of the esports ecosystem, whether it's working, like I mentioned, for a company that designs and builds the stadiums, or whether it's working for a company like Sponsors United, who actually helps develop this database of connecting you to your sponsors, so that if you have a specific event, they can tell you, here are the people who've sponsored those events all year. Like, those are the types of connections that we can help you make within ESTA.
Meg, do you want to talk about the job seeker membership? Because I think that's something that was done fairly recently, right?
It was, and I it was so serendipitous. James ran our production for our conference last year, and they had a really great time. Encore, they provided a great product, and they wanted to do more with us, and came to us with a leadership initiative, which is our highest, most premier membership. It's called the Enterprise Member. And James, that's where we created this. We created this niche for people that love esports and want to work where they love, just to some capacity. So we started the brainstorm. We came up with this strategy, and I'm not sure exactly when we launched the job seeker, but very shortly after we received our first job seeker member. And a lot of feedback we've received is they like that it's called job seeker. It's not like unemployment member. They're seeking a job, and there's a higher purpose to it. And it's so cool because James makes time and talks to everyone. And who has not been in between jobs? We all have. Yeah. And that's a sacred time to just pause and really look at yourself, what you want to do, where you love doing it, who you love doing it with, and around what metaverse, if you will. Yeah. So it was absolutely perfect. Our partnership has just grown beautifully to, as you both know, James is chairing our events committee, along with you, Sharon. And I've done events for so long, and I do truly remember a day when the AV department was really in a closet, and I'm not kidding. Yeah. And there's probably still situations like that, but just a hotel 2 blocks away, it was literally the AV guy was in a closet room, a broom. And why I think it's so exciting to get a job in esports right now is there's just a lot more credibility around the AV people. I don't know what they did from then to now, but something happened, and they're like just bringing it. I do think the respect is higher. The experience of the event couldn't be more valued, and that is esports.
Yeah, that live event experience is something that is missing a lot from virtual events. One thing I was super interested to see was the step back that esports took during the pandemic. Yeah. And when I tell you, it just didn't grow as fast as everyone assumed it would, but it wasn't actually a step back. But it was the live events part that was missing in 2020 and 2021. So there is, of course, this thought that if you play video games, you're by yourself in a room and nobody's around you. And that's where every parent is scared. They don't want their kids to fall into this trap, or at least as a parent, I'm talking about myself now. As a parent, I did not want my daughters to separate themselves from the world and have their only interactions be online. Because while I feel like you can be more yourself online, there's also, you can be anybody online feeling. But that's not the case with esports. Esports is not playing video games. Esports is as dramatic and as dynamic a community as any professional sporting traditional sport that you can think of. You know, from the fact that you can have a better experience watching an NFL game at home than you can be in person doesn't change the fact that if there was nobody in the stadiums, we remember seeing nobody in the stadiums, how miserable it was to watch a game with nobody in the stands.
Yeah.
So esports is that exact same thing. And I'm kind of off on a tangent here, but what I was saying is that the reason that AV is so impactful, at least in my experience for esports, is because the live experience is the most critical thing.
Yeah.
Sitting in a room with 5,000 or 10,000 people watching the same person do the same thing is totally different than me sitting at home watching Twitch, which is something we can all do. But there's no way to make money. there is a way to make money, but it's for a small group of people. And while I care deeply about the impact that we make as a community, I know that each of us has a level that we need to provide to ourselves or our family. And part of doing that is making money doing the things you love. You know, I think I attended my first QuickCon in 2009 or 2012. It was here in Dallas. And I remember the BYOC room, the Bring Your Own Computer room, seeing how full that was. Just let me to know, like, this was 10 years ago and the industry was there. It just hadn't been captured yet. So having said all of that, what I would say is that the live events part of it, and why, Meg, you feel like AV has grown from being us, you know, in a broom closet with no AC to now being one of the most integral parts of an entire industry, is that the live event is now recognized as being the most important thing.
And firstly, the reason why we created the enterprise membership is to create custom sponsorships. And I am so excited about the virtual fair, and I'm going to tell you why. Many moons ago, I went to a DoubleTree where there was over 150 companies that were represented, and there was the whole first floor of the hotel was booked. So you would go in a room, and you would meet the team. This is a long time ago. This is how I found my way to this industry, and I went. It was actually 2 floors. That's how many rooms. Okay, so I don't know how exactly you're going to run this job fair. But after the whole day of me, it was an 8-hour day, and talked to hundreds of people, over 100 companies. I decided that I wanted to take my career toward content publication and media association, nonprofit development. But there were so many options, and I kept going back to this one room, and I kept talking to the people, but it all mattered. What they did mattered. Who I would be reporting to mattered. The HR, I remember that day because that was it. It changed my life, and I knew it would, and I wouldn't be here for that. So let's talk a little bit about what you're going to do for our job fair.
And when is it? When is the job fair? I think it is Thursday, April 21st. I think it is. Yeah,
right.
in my notes. Thursday, April 21st from 12 to 1 Central. What's going to happen on that?
So like I said earlier in the event, we have over 1,100 open positions all around the world. We have about 1,000 here in the US, and about 900 of those are just entry-level AV technicians at our various properties. So Encore is is the world's largest in-house AV provider. So here in the United States, we have 2,100 venues that we are the in-house AV provider. We're talking places like Fenway Park in Boston and Caesar's Palace, and Atlantic City. And so we're the number 1 provider to hotels and casinos in the world. But here in the United States, a tremendous number of open roles. So what we'd like to do is anybody who's interested in participating in this job fair can we'll have a pre-screening form that they can fill out and say which types of jobs they're interested in. And then what I'd like to do is just have them speak to somebody, and we can set up maybe 5-minute increments or 10-minute increments, much like we did for the Esports Next speed dating service. So what we'd like to do is we can set up tables where people can go from table to table and maybe speak with someone in operations or speak to somebody geographically or something like that, whatever they've determined on their pre-screen, and then get them that information. Ideally, we'd like to be able to then set up times to bring them in for in-person interviews. So, have somebody who has a prepared resume ready to go. And that was something I did want to address here on this call. While the real advantage of being a job seeker member of ESTA is that you don't have to have a formal resume to apply to one of the Encore positions. Just being part of ESTA, we know that you care enough about this industry that you have the basic understanding. So what we can do is work off your LinkedIn or worked off of an old resume or something like that. But But I would like to suggest that everybody who's watching this, who is interested in a job, do prepare a resume and look at the job that you want to pursue. Look at every detail, specifically grab some of the requirements, especially if they have like a year's worth of requirement on there. And then just in a summary box at the top of your resume, put that required skill. If it's Word, put Word 5 years. If it's a specific CRM that you do have to have information on, but you only have education, put CRM knowledge, educational, and put 6 months or something like that. So what I would suggest is that not only can you come to the job fair and speak with us directly about a specific job that's interesting to you, but you can also get a sense of how to apply for jobs in the industry as well. Even if Encore isn't the right space for you, we can help you to understand what the jobs are available with us. And then if that's not a fit for you, maybe suggest what would be the next step or how you could grow into those roles with us.
So is this a members only invite, or is a job fair open to the general public? Is it going to be the format like here with the live, or is it going to be a different platform, just so that the audience, as they're watching the replay, they can kind of figure out how to get registered? And I'm sure we're going to have links somewhere in the chat. But it's a virtual job fair, right? Is it for members only, or is it public? Is it? I mean, what are the qualifications to get into the job fair?
So this is our first job fair with ESTA. So while Encore is extremely excited about the job seeker membership, we understand completely that it is a brand new product too. So while we in the future will have job fairs specifically for our job seekers, in this one, I feel like it makes the most sense to open it up to people who are familiar with ESTA or want to even learn more about ESTA and how we can help you find a job to join that job fair. So having said all that, to say this one will be open to the public, but in the future, these virtual job fairs will only be a member benefit.
Okay, got you. All right, so there's more details coming as to how the format, right? So folks, they gotta like keep tuning into our social media pages and for the details. And if you're on our email list, you'll get that information. And if you're not, you might want to get on the email list for ESTA. If you're interested in it, you might as well at that point just join and become a member, especially a job seeking member, which is not that expensive. And we'll have links in the chat, in the comments later on. Now, Megan, I know you introduced me and James, but I don't think you introduced yourself. I don't remember. As a founder, as our founder of the Esports Trade Association, I just wanted to make sure that we remember that it was you who had the vision to start this trade association and bring all of us under this great, wonderful tent. So we thank you for that as well. And Rebecca said something, she said something about, one-on-one EST on Encore, all fantastic partners. One of your heart, Megan, is for community and for partnership and for collaboration. And as I was stepping back and listening to James talk and you talk, right, I was thinking about, here is, like you said, AV, and here is, Trade Association, here's ESTA, and here's the wonderful package that you put together for the enterprise package. And I just love your heart for customization, Megan, and for bringing everyone into the tent, being open to see how we can create these win-win strategies. And for anyone else out there, as James mentioned, that there are other people in this space, in the recruiting space, but, you could have a different arrangement, with ESTA. So you might want to check in with the office, check in with us and see what we can create for you. Now, I have to talk about the ESTA events because James, you are my co-chair for the ESTA event this year, and you said something that was really interesting and is so true about virtual versus in person. The impression of nerds versus professionals. And last year, when I was at the conference, it really wasn't what I thought either, right? As a mom of nerdies, right? It was like, wow, professional people, professional sponsors, corporate members. And I realized how exciting this industry is and how many corporate, to use John's favorite word, the non-endemics, right? John, that's a shout out to you, the non-endemic stuff. The non-endemic folks, just being in a room to network with some true gamers, right? And people in the space, and then also these other people. And so we're looking forward to having that again this year, August, I believe it's the 22nd. We'll have links for the conference. we're looking forward to having even more people come in with their ideas. We have so many interesting and panels planned, and the networking is just golden. And not to mention also the elevator pitch competition. So, wanted to plug that as we're on this live. Like, this is what EST is all about. We have a big tent. We have the job fair, but we also have this conference coming up, the elevator pitch coming up, and just a ton of value. And so if you're not a member, you're truly missing out.
This was the first in-person conference, Major Esports Next in-person conference last year in 2021. And I can say, having attended thousands of conferences and helped set these up, that the level of the presenters and attendees was far above what was deserved in general for a first conference. Like it would, imagine if you were part of the Major League Baseball Association and George Steinbrenner from the Yankees showed up to the first ever meeting. Like that was the level of people, people that if you just tried to talk to them, you would have felt like there's no chance of that. But these people are there not only to present and speak, but then to interact afterwards. I sat at tables with people from FaZe Clan and Minnesota Rocker. Like there were awesome in-person experiences. And I'm the choir, so I'm preaching to you directly. But I can tell you specifically from an events person, and this is with my Encore hat on, that I have been to many events where Warren Buffett is speaking, and the level of interaction that I got from this was exactly the same as one of those conferences, and far beyond what I would have expected from a first in-person conference.
I have to agree with you, not because, but I do have to agree with you. I was very impressed. I mean, I literally sat through almost every single panel. So I do agree with you. So
and the ESTA will bring that information back to you. We talked a little bit about the virtual and hybrid, but that information lives on forever when you become part of ESTA. And that's really what you learn and gain from this. So you don't lose that knowledge because you weren't there, because you weren't a member back then. You become a member today and you gain access to that knowledge.
So as we're getting ready to wrap up, I don't know if Meg or James, you have any closing comments, because I know we're at our 30-minute mark, 31 minutes at this point.
Sure.
Do you have any closing comments for Encore? And Megan can do her closing comments as well from ESTA.
Yeah.
So you go first, James.
I appreciate that, Sharon. And thank you so much for setting this up, Meg. Obviously, this was a huge benefit to our joining as an enterprise member to the association. So this has been tremendously helpful, and I'm very excited about it. Encore really is here to connect and inspire. So, over the last 80 years as a company, we've grown from, like I said, a person in a closet, like Meg said, to now the company that does every presidential inauguration since 1948. And when we need a 40-foot campfire for Little John to sing around, we can fabricate that in an office in Maryland and ship it wherever it needs to go in the world. So we are that company that does connect and inspire people, and we do it through the industry, through the knowledge and the AV and the tech. But the ultimate outcome is an experience. And that is what I would say is ESTA's focus too, is creating an experience for everyone who is part of the organization, from an enterprise side, from a company like mine, to a job seeker who just wants to be part of this industry, and then everyone in between, which there are many levels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so grateful to have both of you on, and I do believe that as a community, we're so thirsty to be with each other and truly connect and add value to each other and make an impact. And that, is definitely what everyone can see here today is what we're doing and what we're building. Sharon, would you like to take us home?
Yeah, and I'm just thankful, Megan, for you convincing me to stick around, even when I didn't have the natural instinct to want to do that. To stick around with ESTA and to see it through, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And James, I really appreciate you being the co-chair of the event. Last year you weren't an official co-chair, but you were such a great help that we thought unanimously on the team that James is going to be the co-chair this year. So just thank you for your service. Thank you for your heart for our industry. And, we just look forward to seeing what happens for your job fair and also for the upcoming event as well. So until next time, everyone, ciao.
Ciao.
Take care. Bye-bye.